Robbie here. Listen, lots of people have been asking me, Robbie, how have you managed to lose so much weight? And I feel so much better for it. And it has been a journey. But these two little things here, Optimum Day and Optimum Night, have really, really helped me on my weight loss journey. This Optimum Day, what it does, it helps you to curb your cravings. It really helps with your metabolism and just really just stabilizes things. And I swear by this, I absolutely swear by this. And then the Optimum Night, what this one does, I take these before I go to bed at night, helps you to have a much better, deeper sleep, makes you relax, makes you sleep, and makes your body recover. And these pills, I mean, listen, they're not magic pills, but they're all natural, and they have really, really helped me in my weight loss journey, and I really, really swear by them. So if you want to get your hands on these, scan the QR code in the description right now, or click the link down below, and you can get 70% off your first order with the Optimum Day and Optimum Night by Oxford Natural. Hi, and welcome along to AFTV. We have got in the studio my favourite doctor. Dr. Andre is back in the building. Former doctor for Everton Football Club back in the day. A doctor that looks after, you know, lots of footballers, celebrities, as well as just people. And it's great to have you back in the studio. You know, I always big you up. Still on my journey, still going all right, still going all right. I'm still maintaining it.
I just saw you wearing a lot of tux before.
Yeah.
And you look tremendous.
Thank you.
Tremendous.
Thank you. No, it's become a way of life now. So it's really good. Still, you know, doing the supplements.
Well, you've been consistent, haven't
you? Yeah. But you know what? I need
to
add more. Like what I really need to add more of now is more gym work. Yeah. You know what I mean? I really need to get on that more. I make a lot of excuses for myself. You know what I mean? I'll be like, tired. A lot of filming today. I've got to get out of that mode and start going to the gym on a more consistent basis. I go, but more consistently.
Your next routine will be like compound movements and, you know, things which, rather than focusing on one muscle at a time, you combine movements together.
Yeah.
And that gives you flexibility and trains more than one muscle group at a time. And yeah, that is the next stage, isn't it? That's stepping up to the next level.
Listen, thank you so much for all the advice you've given me over the time that we've known each other, and you know, continue to do. And it's been, you know what I mean, it's been amazing for me. It's changed my life. Yeah. Changed my life. It's been fantastic.
Pleasure.
But I'm not here to talk about myself. I'm here yet again. We're here with the injuries stuff. Arsenal Football Club have had the second most injuries in the Premier League this season. Only Brighton have had more injuries than Arsenal. You could argue that Arsenal injuries have been worse because a lot of those injuries have been to key players like Gabriel and Kai Havertz and, you know what I mean, Saliba and Odegaard, the captain, and lots of players. I want to talk to you about two things today, right? First of all, I want to talk to you about recovery from injuries, right? Because at the moment, we're starting now to get a lot of players kind of coming back. Mm-hmm. We're seeing players that we haven't seen for ages. So we're like, oh yeah, everybody expects those players to just hit the ground running. So I want to discuss that. And then also, we're moving now into this busy period of games for Christmas and January as well. A lot of people talk about Christmas, but January as well is also a busy time. And I want to talk about the load on players. But first of all, I wanted to talk about that. Players returning from injury, which we've got quite a lot of players returning from injury currently. How difficult is that for players when because we as fans sometimes, we're all expecting those players to just come back and bang, hit the ground running, right up to speed, goals.
Yeah.
Doing everything you were doing amazingly before straight away. But does there have to be a period where players have to ease themselves back in?
Well, there's no doubt it is the most difficult part of the job. Think about your job, what you do. The most difficult part of whether you work in plumbing or business or banking. When it comes to football, the return to play is the most crucial time and the most nerve-wracking time. Because when a player's injured, they're injured, it's bleeding, it's blown, it's inflamed. There's not much you can do apart from do the sensible things for healing. Then they train, they improve, that's quite straightforward too. But then when you bring in contact, when you bring in fatigue, and you bring in high intensity, then you're stressing everything maximally, which has been dormant for many weeks. And there's always the unknown, that you just don't know for sure that it will follow a lovely, easy path from recovery to rehab to play. And I think there was a player recently, I think Havertz was back after a lengthy time. He had a knee injury and he was a little surgery. And you're thinking, well, maybe that's a cleanup of some debris in the joint. Maybe it's a bit of cartilage, meniscal repair. And some of those tissues now are new. They have not played football before in this formation, with this new architecture. And then you put them through this new trial, tribulation of high-intensity contact. And do they just react? Do they just, because they've never seen it before, become slightly inflamed and release some fluid into the joint, which then puffs up? And suddenly you have the so-called setback, is what they call it. It's a lovely phrase of saying, well, they're not injured, and we don't want to say that it's our fault, so we'll just say setback. But normally that implies that the new load that's been added has caused some reaction, which has led to inflammation and pain, and we're going to have to step back. And there's nothing worse than going to the manager and saying, all was hunky-dory, and we've got back into this level, and there's been the setback because we're back into the unknown. It was all, they're back in 6 weeks, and we're approaching 6 weeks, where's my player? And it's like, there's been a setback, and it's just glum, dismal anxiety everywhere. So there is this issue that when you reintroduce, because games are different to training, okay? The mental stress, the physical stress, the fatigue, you can't create that in the training environment. You see what happens late in the game, you're 2-1 down, 5 minutes to go. The intensity, there's no way you could create that on a training ground. So you just don't know until you are in the peaks of exertion how the injury is going to behave.
Yeah, and then is that why then you see a lot of times with players, it'll be, rather than putting them straight back in, it's about easing them through. I mean, we've got, like at the moment, Gabriel Jesus, who he's had a couple of games, he's come in, he's done all right in those, but it's sort of been the last sort of 15 minutes, there's been fans calling, start him. But he's been out he's had 2 ACLs now.
Yeah.
Is that a player that definitely needs to be eased back in?
I think culturally, that's what gets done. I don't know there's massive science behind that, because really if you're fit for something, you're fit for something, or you're not fit for something. And it seemed curious that you would take a player who's been injured and then return them to the team and then sit them down for an hour on a bench, to stiffen up and get cold, and then bring them on at that point, a bit of jog down the touchline here and there. But that seemed to me often creating possible issues, that they've just been sat there for an hour and a half and then they've got to enter this massively high intense game. It may be better to do the warm up with the rest of the team and then start the game and then come off if you think you're getting fatigued or tired. So there's a combination of part science, part culture as to this idea that we'll bring you on for the last 10 minutes. Often it's more to do with just the mental side of it, just the mental strain of playing. It's easier to see the finish line 20 minutes ahead. You feel you might be able to give yourself that way. Whereas if you start the game, then you're thinking, gosh, must I preserve myself? I don't know exactly how I am an hour in. So you might not get the full amount out of that player. So I think often it's a combination of this cultural idea, the psychology, more than it is really good medical sense.
Yeah, so you're saying then that, some players will need to be eased back in, but others could just come straight in and be, once you done all the tests and everything, you feel that they're back, they're ready.
Really, if you're fit for the sport, you should be fit for the sport. You shouldn't really be fit for 20 minutes of it. Really, that means you're not fit. So I think culturally it happens because of pressure, and a manager wants the player on the team list, wants to know he has that in his back pocket. But you are basically saying, you're not fit for 90 minutes, you're not fit for a game of football. You're fit for something else, which is we've invented this last 20 minutes, which often is the most intense part of the game anyway. So it's a bit muddled, I think. Muddled.
The other thing is load, right? So, busy Christmas period, lots and lots of games, you know what I mean? Right throughout Christmas. We're the only ones that play so many games around Christmas. If you look at a lot of the other leagues,
break.
Bundesliga closed down before Christmas and don't come back till January. Spanish, I think, similar. You know, we play right throughout the Christmas period. Like, listen, it's an enjoyable watch when you're at home, but it's a big load on the players. Then, when they get into January now, there's loads of games again. There's loads of... So if you're a team like Arsenal, that's also in the Champions League, you've got Premier League games, you've got 2 Champions League games in that period, and the FA Cup starts as well. So you've got FA Cup games. Now, Arsenal have gone out and they brought in a big squad to cope with these games. But the load on players, I remember a few years ago they had like a winter break, which is gone now. There's no more winter break. These players are just playing game after game after game. How do you manage that? How do you manage that load on players? And how do you've been a doctor, you know, at a Premier League football club, how do you monitor that? We hear a lot of this stuff about the red zone and stuff like that. Yeah. How do you monitor that on players?
Yeah, well, I mean, taking this idea of this busy period, and again, we go back to this idea of culture. It's a culture in this country to play all these games jammed together over Christmas. Other countries maybe take a more scientific attitude and don't do it, but we still do. It's baked in. It's hard to undo. You know, if you ever train, and you train, let's say, I don't know, biceps and triceps one day, and you really push yourself, you don't generally tend to do that same training the following day. You're normally advised to rest for 72 hours before stressing that same muscle group again, with good reason, because part of what you do when you train or when you fully exert yourself is you cause damage, low-level damage, and maybe you feel it the next day. You ever wake up and you ache the next day after exercise? You're not injured, you know, but you know you've done good stuff the previous day, and we call that DOMS, or the delayed onset of muscle soreness. You have to slightly injure muscle for it to improve, because then it will regrow and fix. So DOMS, this pain after exercise we expect, and you would not normally then train the same way the following day because you have this aching pain. So you would give it a day or two, and those little micro tears heal up, and then all's good. Now, when you compact things like games back to back to back, you're not getting that same level of heal. So this rest and repair cycle is gone, and you wind up maybe stressing the body more than you want to. And that's the biggest concern, is so how do we prevent players from carrying what seem to be minor strains or just soreness and then putting them back into a game again? Obviously, there's a risk then of muscle injury. And there's 50% more muscle injuries in December than there are in other months.
Wow.
Okay, so this is not invented stat. This is genuinely an issue of compression and the rest repair cycle being messed up.
So rest, even things like sleep would be included in that.
I mean, that's the thing. If you want to heal from something, from anything, go to bed. Okay, that's when healing takes place. Now, at night time, what you do, when you get into deep sleep, say 2 hours in, you kick out growth hormone. So if you can get into that 2-hour deep sleep window, you're making sufficient growth hormone to promote adequate healing. Now again, games back to back. Now you do shows on evening games, don't you? You're at the game. How do you feel late on when you've done your interviews, you've got the buzz, you're in the car driving home, you're not necessarily at your most relaxed.
No.
Come 10:30, what does it feel like when you've done a show and things? You're still a bit hyper?
I have it, yeah, that's very true. A lot of times I get home from a game. Typically, I'd get home around about 2 a.m. if we say it's at 8 o'clock kickoff, right? And a lot of times, I'm tired when I was going home, but then I get home and I've still got adrenaline going, so I don't feel like going to bed yet. Yeah. So, yeah.
So you'll sleep, but it's unlikely in that situation you really get into the depth of sleep.
Yeah.
Which is what you're looking for. That's the truly restorative part of it. So same for players playing an evening game, the adrenaline, the rush, the after, the interviews, and then go home and then they've got a niggle, slightly sore. Are they going to get into that deep sleep for the 2 hours to keep the growth hormone to repair? And then you put those games back to back, and Christmas is not the best time for sleeping. Anyone in a household knows Okay, these guys make a lot of money and they've got big houses, but they still have families in the house because often they're the big bread earners.
Yeah.
Everyone comes to their house. So when they come home, there's family duties, there's kids, there's babies, there's coughs and colds. Those are on the increase, aren't they? This time of year, you're probably maybe battling a cough or cold yourself at the moment. And players are not immune from those just because they're athletes. They have to play through the minor cough and cold unless they're completely flat out with flu or a serious chest infection. So you're bundling a lot of things together in a short space of time, fatigue, not repairing enough, and therefore it is stressful. Now, how do we measure that? Well, that's certainly changed beyond belief in the last 20 years. So when I was at Everton, turn of the century, literally, it was a lot of guesswork. Now, everyone has wearable tech, Whoops and Arrow rings and things to measure, and you can generally see from things like heart rate variability and sleep patterns who is struggling. So certainly there's plenty of data.
Is that the red zone?
That's when you get into the red zone. There's something called heart rate variability, which is the difference in each heartbeat. So your heartbeat might be 60 a minute, okay? Is that one every second? Not quite. They're slightly out. You're slightly before the second, slightly after. And that variability, the wider it is, implies health. Because it means you can be driven or you can relax. If you're more fixed with low heart rate variability, you find you are more prone to fatigue and then injury. So these are really good hallmarks of health that we can measure quite accurately now with quite simple tech.
Will they be doing scans on players and stuff like that, even without an injury, just to see how they are? Or
no,
it's not that. It's not as deep as that.
No. And scans often involve some form of radiation or interference, and you've got to be careful what you look for because. Let's say you could, in theory, scan every player every week to see who might get injured that week. Very time-consuming. But you wind up finding things that maybe you don't want to find or don't need to find, or just get in the player's head that, you know what, we found this. You're slightly worn in this area. And then he thinks, I'm worn. Shall I maybe take it easy, be more careful?
Yeah.
You're careful with the data that you ask for.
What's really interesting is what you described, the family stuff, we forget that, like you said, because sometimes these players are earning so much money and that we forget that all the normal family things they've got to go through. How do these clubs then protect their players against things like the flu? Because it can be that, isn't it? Like somebody has the flu, you can't play football. When I had a bout of it the other day, it definitely slows you down. Well, I'm not playing now, but it definitely slowed me down even in just day-to-day work. I still went to work and that, but you know what I mean? You felt more sluggish and that. You don't want to play again that, do you? And then at this time of year with flu going around and all these little coughs and bugs, how do you protect against that?
Well, you try to maintain as good a diet as possible. That's certainly come on leaps and bounds in terms of decent vitamin intake, good protein intake, high quality fluids, avoidance. I mean, where you can
avoid people.
That's why we're all going to come down with a bug in Christmas week, because everyone comes from around the country and brings their bugs from Suffolk and Scotland, and they all convene in your household, and you're more likely to get bugs from interacting with people that way. Now, it sounds cruel, but you tell them not to hug the kids when they're ill, which is no one's very fond of that. Come home, little Sammy's got a fever. We don't want them to get involved in that thing, but it's not easy. It's not easy. So, good health avoidance. Beyond that, you're pretty much struggling. We don't put people on prophylactic antibiotics or Tamiflu or antivirals. That's not the way to do it. We don't want to medicate people as little as possible. So generally, it's get your rest, avoid people who are snivelling, and eat well.
Yeah, because those little day-to-day things can, mean you miss a game. We hear a lot of players that have missed a game through, especially at Arsenal. We just get so many injuries, so many little niggles, coughs, stuff like that. But it is a serious thing at this time of year. Listen, Arsenal, they've got this amazing squad this year, and it has been tested to the absolute limit. And the team has still been doing well despite the injuries because of the cover. You think that's why they went and bought all these players in? Because the amount of somebody's looked at it and said, listen, the amount of games that Arsenal have, we have to have a big squad. I saw the other day the Crystal Palace manager complaining that his squad's too small. It just can't cope.
Yeah. I mean, this is very. I mean, you need bodies. I think, obviously, the style in which a team plays as well. I mean, Arsenal's a very defensively structured team, and I never quote football expertise, medical, yes, but not football. But the essence of being a defensive team is there's a lot of jobs to be done by lots of people, which indicates you might have to run more than the average set of players. And I looked at some stats that said that in 36 of 38 games in the Premiership last year, Arsenal outran the opposition. So they're doing a lot more movement. And so that combination of the style of play, movement, I think Rice and Odegaard were the only team with 2 people in the top 10 for distance covered as well. So certainly you're asking a lot of your players to do all the running and back and forth, etc. So I guess the more you run, the more chance you can get yourself hurt.
Yeah. Well, we're moving into that period now of January, and I know you've got a new channel out now, haven't you?
I do.
A new YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Well, I love to share medical information with everybody. I'm very passionate about prevention being better than cure. And so we're launching Dr. Andre's Health Drive. Think like carpool karaoke, but a medical version of it. I have a van, a green, gold and white van. You've been in it.
Yeah.
So 3 cameras, sound system. We drive around and we chat about, well, it's meant to be just a chat between friends that also turns medical and then deals with some medical issue in detail.
Yeah.
So you learn about the medical issue. Hopefully the guest learns as well. And I learned a few things too. And so it's a YouTube channel. We've got great people on. A great one
I've
to
been
look
on.
at. Yes, Rob's been on, absolutely. Michael Owen. So we discuss the nature of how an elite, unique athlete like Michael got injured, dealing with hamstring injuries and cruciate injuries. And that's really interesting. If you ever suffer from those injuries, check out that one. It's really interesting. But it deals with bowel cancer. It deals with lots of very complex medical issues. And it comes out every week. And I think it's a really, I would say this, but I think it's a really, really good watch.
Yeah.
And you'll always learn something. And we have celebrities, pop stars, just regular patients, scientists, surgeons. We talk about how you repair someone after a bomb blast. Wow. I mean, there's a massive variety on there. So it's Dr. Andre's Health Drive YouTube channel. Please look at it, subscribe, like it, get into it. It's going to come out every week, and I really think people will love it.
Yeah, we're going to put a link in the description. Please get along. I did an interview in the van, so get along and make sure you check it out. And Dr. Andre, before you go there, tips for we're getting into January's just around the corner.
Yeah.
Once we get to January, a lot of us start to think about health once again for the, it's a good time because, a lot of people start to think, right, what this year, 2026, I'm going to be healthier. What are your tips? Just a couple of general tips for.
Okay. Number one is if you decide to make a change, that in itself is amazing. Do not be too hard on yourself. This is the absolute key. The year is a long time. It's 12 months. You don't have to be fit, healthy, mentally perfect within 2 weeks of New Year's Day. You've decided to make a change. Consistency, little changes make a difference. So pick things that you can do, that you can cut out or reduce. Don't overreach too much. Don't overtrain too much. But I would certainly look focusing on your diet because over Christmas it goes a bit wobbly. Okay, so just pick things that came from the ground or were running around before they got to you. Okay, so less processed things. Keep yourself hydrated, have a good early bedtime and stick to it. Move more than you did during December. It shouldn't be too difficult, okay? And don't be too hard on yourself.
Those are great tips. Dr. Andre, thank you once again for coming in. Some great advice and also some great information on player injuries. Let's hope that we can get some of these injured players back and that they're not injured from now until the end of the season, and then we could possibly really have a good chance of winning the league.
Christmas
and also, don't forget to check out Dr. Andre's new channel. We are putting a link in the description where you can, get all the information on that. Get over there and subscribe. Some brilliant health tips and some brilliant information, because health is wealth. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Andre, and everybody have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Too heavy. It's funny, Dr. Andre, I got asked me the other day, actually. The reason why I was so overweight is because I eat too much. And,
it's very hard to eat when you're asleep.
Simple. Well, when I started to analyse it, I'm like, Robbie, you eat too much. A lot of money on this top. I'm not going to say on here how much it was. So, if I'm big, so what? Like, people know me for that. They know,